That's right, it's the old Apptacular theme. Remember it? That way you know that cool stuff's coming your way. Well, you hope. You hope you're not wasting your time. Alright, let me just fade this out gracefully. So, hold on just one second. I'm going to go over here so I can see comments. I won't be sharing comments on the big screen today because this whole area is going to be taken up with what you see on my phone as we go through this app called Werble. Now, before we get into it, let me just say that, again, as a reminder, Werble is an app for your iPhone or your Android that allows you to take static pictures and add moving animated elements to it. But before we begin, I have to share that the beverage of choice today is the Reed's Stronger Ginger Brew that comes in the invisible bottle. Stronger. More of a ginger kick. Hello, Kathy and Dawn and Kathy. We got two Kathys in the house, both of whom, each of whom spell their names differently. What? How is this even possible? Okay, so once again, the comments over here from Kathy that says, for example, good afternoon, isn't showing up over here where I'm supposed to see them. Now they are. Okay. Anyway, good afternoon. Hey, who likes taking pictures, right? Who's active on Instagram? None of you? Well, all right, let's just pretend you are. Or if you just want to dazzle your friends and loved ones by sending them an image that, well, they'll go, how did you do this? And you're here to learn today. Now, normally when I do Apptacular as part of the Bob Doyle Show, I breeze through things as fast as I can. I'm going to actually spend time on this, so you might get bored unless I just do an excellent job of being engaging. So let's start, if we may, by showing some examples of warbles, if you will, is what I'll call them, that I've done using still images as a starting point. Okay, now you're going to notice that there are a lot of pictures of Cody, my dog, and me, because you see we are readily available subjects. And then obviously you'll see other things that I've done as well. So I'm going to show you basically how you would build up an image like this with an image that you have, but let me just go through. Now, from time to time you're going to see an image that was actually created in another app that I'm going to share called Mug Life. This is how I did the bacon, that's right. This is a little busy. But just remember that, now see here, you're going to see a lot of this when I do the Cody stuff, but that's actually a kind of a weird color. Let's look at this one. It's the subtle movement in the hairs, right? And then the other thing you'll notice is that there's movement as if it's almost like a handheld camera, right? So it adds this, that's just another dimension of the animation to it, and I do that on virtually every single one of these I make. You don't have to, but I choose to. So I just think there's really something cool about being subtle with it as opposed to over the top, which I've done on several of these as well. So all these effects like the raindrops and the lightning and the flashes and all of this stuff, it's all part of Werble, and I'm going to show you how to do all of it and how you layer these. Okay, this is actually done with the other app. This is done with Werble. There are certain video elements that are words and things like that with the XOXO up there. This is also Werble. And this one, you know, is nothing drastic. It's just a little, you can see the light up in the upper left-hand corner, and it just adds this, it's a still image, but it just adds a little dimension to it, right? That's the other app, and that is 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 the other app. Okay, hold on a second. I remember now I have to just, oh, well, this is another one with Cody, but also some of the other elements. So you'll see the whisker, the fur, but you'll also notice those leaves on the left and the upper left-hand corner, those are all also elements that come with Werble, or that you can purchase with Werble. So Werble itself is a free app, and Don's put the links to the downloads in the description. But immediately you're going to want to purchase it so you get rid of the Werble watermark, and then you're going to want to start buying some of the other little packs of the video elements, and $99, $1.99, whatever. Hold on now, there are just a few more before I get into it, and I know this is like I'm being that guy with the slideshow, but hey, you know what's my show? Ha 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 ha. Okay. All right, I think we're back into it now. Again, just those little elements, like the little fairy dust that comes up, right? That's in front, and again, you'll see the little hairs around his ears. And this is a picture of my famous Kahlua cake, using again some of the visual elements, the confetti, the whole thing, right? And there's actual filters also that go into, that you can apply to the image, and we'll get to all of that. More Cody and me. You'll notice on this one that where it says breathe, it's sort of expanding like that. That's also done within Werble with a feature that I will show you, because I promised that I would. I'm going to show you everything that I know. That's why, I said this could take a while. These are some of my early ones. This is my daughter and my grandson at the beach, and I kind of overdid it, put fireworks in the sky and all that kind of stuff. I think this was actually one of the first ones where I started, because I'm going backwards in time as I show you these, where I started experimenting with the hair. And I think if I did it again, I would make those little strands a little more subtle. And this was just a puppy that Lynn sent me a picture of that was up for adoption, and I fell in love with it because it looked just like one of my dogs that I had before I came out here, who I miss. Anyway, all right, so I think you get the idea here. So why don't we get into it, right? Let me just get to the front page and remember how I did this. Are we ready? Anyone have any questions? No? Good. Okay. Hi, Gatu and Cheryl and Dawn, and Lynn is here and everything. Awesome. Okay. So again, when you launch the app, one of the first things I would like you to do is to go to Settings, which is in the upper left-hand corner. You may have to register to get to this setting, but you'll see 3 down. It says Expert Mode, and you'll see I have it clicked on. You'll want that because that gives you more options for editing, particularly like when you get into blending, which is a kind of a more advanced thing, but it really opens up a whole new world, which is why I'm digging in at this level of detail, because you could miss these things or be intimidated by some of the features, and if you just spend a little time with them, you can create some really cool things. So let's just get out of that. And again, these are just some examples of things that people have done. So to begin on an image, you're just going to click that W down at the bottom, and then you can just choose an image. So I'm going to choose an image that I took right down the street from me on a walk. They're doing all kinds of construction. There's this crazy structure. It looks like, I don't know what it is. It looks like between a cross between an oil rig and some sort of weird thing from the Half-Life series of games. Anyone? Half-Life? Anyone? No. Okay. One person? Awesome. Great. All right. So I'm going to use this image, and that's just going to be our starting point. Okay. Because we got a lot of interesting things to work with here. So once you choose your image, you just click the arrow in the upper right-hand corner. And now what we've got down here at the bottom is all the various video or the visual elements that you can add. Now it comes with some free. You can download other free ones, and then you can also purchase them. If you go into the upper right-hand corner where the shopping cart is and you click that, you'll see all the different packs that you can get, and you'll see that I have gotten almost all of them. Because there's little hidden gems in each one that you just never know, and sometimes it's just a subtle thing you put in that you barely even notice, visually, but it adds that there's something going on element to the image. And by the way, if you took note of those images that I shared, they come out really high quality, and you saw that in the settings, if you were reading. That you have all sorts of output settings for even higher quality than what I'm putting out. So you can create these animated GIF files that look amazing, and they're perfectly suitable for like iMessage, so that when you send it, it delivers moving. They don't have to play a video, right? So that's the fun thing about animated GIFs, except these, they're full size, and the quality is just amazing, right? And so you can really create some really cool artsy things. But anyway, that's where you would get your basic elements. And so inside each category, like for example Thanksgiving, you're going to have various elements, and you just click them, and then you can just kind of click and drag, touch and drag, move around, all that. All right, and most of them have like an animated element. You can see that one's sort of glistening, right, where it says happy. So I'm not going to do that, but you get the idea. Just some other examples. These are sort of cartoony things. You might put this over somebody's face. I'm sorry, head. You know, like they're thinking, not over their face necessarily. Interesting sparkles. We may use some of these, right? You just place them anywhere. And you'll notice down here between the top and the bottom, right in the middle, you'll see this row with a plus sign, and that's where you add more layers. When you go into that expert mode, you can do unlimited layers. Now, it will tell you that if you do that, it could affect performance or whatever. So far, I have not run into anything like that, and I've been able to add unlimited layers, which once you really start getting into detail, you're going to want as many layers as you possibly can. I'm going to take out that sparkle for now, but you can see that there are several different shapes and sizes and intensities, and all of these intensities, everything that you add on, you can change the opacity and all that. I'm going to show you all of that as I add these in. So anyway, you've got all these different categories, and we're certainly not going to use them all this time, but I'll just show you some of them. So what we have here is this weird sort of structure. We got some trees, and we've got this big open sky. So let's start by just sort of adding a little bit of movement with plants. So there's this category called Hot Tropics, and I'm just going to take this middle leaf here, and I'm going to move it just kind of off to the side here, right? So it's a little jerky with its, I'd like it to be a little smoother, you know. But again, it's just enough to add a little element of movement in there that's not over the top. So now I'm going to add another layer. I'm going to choose that one up here. I want this up here. We'll see. You can remove any of these, move the order of the layers, which you'll probably see me doing. So now we've got basically sort of a little bit of movement there. So now I'm going to add some weather to this, because I think this is actually, before I do that, I think what we've got here is a great opportunity for some use of electricity, right? And there happens to be a category called electricity, and you've got all these different shapes, right? But I happen to know, I think, whoops, this one. You want one where the beginning point doesn't move around so much. Okay, so now that's what I wanted. I wanted something to be shooting down towards the trees from that tower. Okay. All right, see what we got already, right? Kind of cool. So now I'm going to add another layer. I'm going to try to never forget to add that layer. And now I'm going to just add these little kind of subtle touches. Don't know if I want to sparkle, like I said, for this one up here, maybe where this is happening. No, I think that one's just, you know, you just try. You just keep trying things. That's okay, okay. I may come back and revisit that, but you see what's happening here. Now, I think what I want to do is in these trees where this lightning is hitting is start little fires. A sensitive subject for people here in the Los Angeles area, I understand, and what's unfortunate is I got this app and it had all these elements of fire and smoke and all this, and I got this right when all those fires were going on, and I was creating all these pictures with, you know, just things outside my house on fire, and I didn't feel like I could post any of them because that was really insensitive. Anyway, so here we go. I'm going to add a layer. I'm going to go back over here, and I'm going to go to flames, right, and just choose one here, size it down. Okay, so now we've got a little fire going in the tree, and so we'll add on that and some smoke, which actually I would probably put in first. So something like this. You'll notice that the smoke is blue, so this gives me an opportunity to show you a couple of things. First of all, I want that smoke behind the flame, so I'm gonna click down on the white square where I've just added that, and you can see I'm going to drag it over, and now it's behind. Now the other thing I'm going to do is up at the top you'll see right in the middle there's an icon that's like it's purple and it looks like a book with pictures in it, and then next to that is a wrench, and when you click on the wrench then you get to another set of tools here, and this is where you'll do a lot of really cool stuff. So for example in this one we've got that smoke that I'm going to actually make a little bit bigger, but it's blue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to color, and I'm just going to basically take the saturation out of it completely, so now it's gray, right? A little more realistic. Am I right? Okay, and I'm going to do another, well, let's see. I'm going to do another one. I'll go ahead and put the smoke on this one first. Whoa, that's big. Okay, and then I'll add a flame on top of that. I need music, right? I need some kind of cool music going on. Wouldn't it be funny if I put a candle flame? That wouldn't work at all. Let's see what this one would do. No. A lot of this is just trial and error. I know Lynn's watching this going, why are you setting the trees on fire in our neighborhood? All right, let me go back to that that smoke that is blue and change the color of it. Maybe it makes such a difference in the realism, doesn't it, when it's... Now, we've got a problem here because the direction of that smoke is not congruent with the other one. So something like that. Okay? Are we cool? How are we doing? Can you show how to do hair on someone, on a puppy? Well, what I can do is I'll add a little movement to the trees, in the tree branches, in the same way that I would do the hair on a puppy. So I'm going to add another layer. I'm going to go to this flow waves right here, and you got a lot of things that you think, how would I ever use these? And then you move them down here, and then you figure it out. So here's one right here. I'm just going to move it around. Obviously it's blue, it's not the right color, so I can go back up here to Tools, go to Color, go to Hue Shift, and move that around until, see, now it's more of a green. And then I can actually take the saturation out or whatever. I can then, if I want to make it darker, I can go to Brightness, Contrast, make that, well, that's kind of tentacly, isn't it? But if I move it right in there a little bit, maybe make it a little bit darker. But anyway, that's what I do with Cody's hair. You know, is just use those little tiny wave elements and move them around in strategic places. Change the hue of them to match Cody's hair, and then change the blending. The blending is the opacity, how much you see through it. For example, normally I take down the opacity of some of this smoke. So here's the last smoke I did. I'm going to go to blending, and I'm going to go to blend amount, and you can see that smoke that's right in the middle. I'm fading it in and out. So you can do that with every element that you add. You can change the opacity of it. Again, just add a little bit more level of realism. Now blend modes, or blend style here, probably not going to be too effective to show you with the smoke. It's just going to be confusing. But if you're familiar with Photoshop at all, or if you do any graphic art, you know what blend modes are, blend styles, things like normal and overlay and pin light. And depending on the type of overlay, it basically is defining how this element that you've chosen is going to overlay on top of the other one. But again, the smoke is not really a good example. I'll show you a better example shortly. I'm going to add some mood to the sky here, and again, I'm working in layers. So I'm kind of, if you're thinking it through, you work from the back of the scene up, but it doesn't really matter because you can slide them around and move things in the back however you want to, which I'm sure I will do. So now let's go down to now there's a few ways to add mood to the sky. I happen to have checked earlier and found in an unlikely place, and it's funny because Dawn said horror a minute ago, and horror is the category I'm going to choose, but I'm not going to choose any of these creepy hands. Down here at the bottom, ooh, wait a minute, yeah, which one was it? I think it was, yeah, this one here, right? So that just adds this layer of clouds, and I'm going to move it up actually. I'm just going to move the whole thing up, make it a little bit bigger. See, so now I've got that kind of going on in the background, and if I want to, I can play with the color, maybe make it a little bit darker, or I can even play with, well, this might be a good opportunity to show you how blending stuff works. So let me go to blending and go to blend styles. Right now I guess we're at normal. No, normal would cover it up completely. Multiply gives it this effect. I mean, I won't even, you know, worry about trying to explain what all this stuff means, because I only half understand what the blending modes do. But that right there, you can see just adds a whole new mood to it right there just by choosing a different blending style. So maximum does some interesting things, right? So you just play with it. I mean, a lot of it's just trial and error, just feeling, you know, free to play with the creative process, right? This is an interesting one, this displacement one, because it takes the image that's being overlaid and it displaces the image behind it. And so if you use water, it can use some, if you use a water overlay, you can get some really interesting water effects. In this case, this doesn't really work very well. That's an interesting, but that just takes out too much of the detail for me in this case. Now what I should have paid attention to was, which one did I use? I'm just going to say it was overlay. Okay, I'll just, even if it wasn't, we'll go with this. But I'm going to, on top of this, add still another layer, or play with it anyway, and I may choose not to use it. This Apocalypse. Now I'm going to just choose a few of them, and you can see what happens by default if I just choose some of these. But again, I would be playing with layers, blending styles on all of these. But you can see, you know, even if I don't, we're creating some pretty interesting things. Ooh, that's groovy. Let's see if I can save this with some blending. See, sometimes it just adds these little, depending on the blending mode, you're not even seeing all of the orange stuff that was there, but you're just seeing key parts of it. And so it actually adds, you know, it's actually kind of a cool effect. What do you think? You're welcome, Gato. Hi, Natty and Nitya. Okay, let's see. See what else I could add. Oh, well, we can add a layer of weather to this. We could be making it raining or whatever. And we could even put fireworks in the sky, but none of that seems to really make sense. I'll tell you what, let's add a layer of the fairy dust first. So there are all sorts of different... Now I normally always, when I add this, I normally always bring it down a little bit. Because see, that adds a little bit, that adds a lot of interesting sort of chaos to the sky, but it's a little too much. So I'm just going to take the blend amount down. So again, so it's just sort of suggested. You see it, but it doesn't register. See what I'm saying? And I think actually that lightning seems a little bit too bright for me. I want to take that down a little bit too. Now, okay, now I'm going to add a layer of weather. And look, this is a little bit busy because, you know, I'm just trying to show off all the, you know, all the features and stuff. I don't want to, I know I'm kind of overloading it, but, you know. All right, so then there's weather. And so this one would actually add more lightning to the sky. Right, which, you know, is fair. But then there's this, which makes it look like you're looking through a window, and there's various versions of that. I think this is snow, actually. Yeah. And that's, I think that's rain. That's just straight up rain without hitting on anything. Although I think I played with this and having these leaves float around I liked. However, I want to mute the colors a little bit. And maybe, you know what, maybe even though it doesn't make sense for, I'm going to bring the colors back up, even though it doesn't make sense for them to be translucent, I'm going to just take them down a little bit and just see. All right, I'm realizing that the, whatever, I chose one of those layers with all the colors is really kind of screwing up the fire, but I'm going to just leave it for now. I'm not going to worry I'm not going to worry about it. Now let me show you a couple of other things in this tool set that I use all the time. Now the lighting, again, that's brightness and contrast, and I'll often, like for example, maybe that I can help the trees, the darkness of the trees by going down to that. All of these tools affect whatever layer you've got chosen. So I'm going to go back to my original image. I'm going to take the brightness up a little. Okay, maybe that helped a little. I don't know. Now it doesn't seem. Now it's not. Now it doesn't seem really dark enough. But I'm going to do something in a second that'll probably help that. So the lighting is there. Transform will allow you to take any element on here and move it in either 3D space or 2D space, or flip it, 3D orientation. You know, I don't want to do it now because it'll screw things up. But that's, if you've seen the coffee cup stuff I've done, it starts with a totally round video image of coffee spinning around or whatever, and then using the transform tool I tip it back so that the perspective is correct when I put it on the coffee mug. Okay, so let's move on to pulse. Remember the one I showed you where it said breathe and the word was pulsing? That's what this does. And so with pulse, again, you can choose the layer you want to do this on, and you've got these different effects. So this is like the bulge distortion, and you move it around and you can see the effect, right, as I move it over this tower, and then the range of how much it swells. See, you can just adjust all of this. Now, I would never do this because this doesn't make any sense, but that would be one way to add, and that's how I did. That's how I made a more subtle version of this, but made that breathe sign, breathe word seem to breathe. I said that so poorly. Please don't hold it against me. Well, you can if you want. I can't really stop you. So this is actually, again, the pulse effect with defocus. This is just a freaking cool effect just by itself, don't you think? Now you can see that it's not really affecting the fire very much for whatever reason. But that's just, again, it may or may not suit my needs right now. Well, yeah, of course, it's only affecting the image. It's not affecting anything on top of it. So that's why the fires aren't affected. Pinch distortion, again, looks much like the other one. Pixelation, shift distortion, sure. Anyway, these are other ways to add subtle. I don't use it very much, but when you use it correctly, it's and not over the top, it just adds another layer of subtlety. All right, and then pulse. Now we're getting into filters. Now filters are very much just like you're used to on any other app, right? You know. So again, I've got the main image chosen, the one with the thing in the background, and so these filters would affect that. Actually, it looks like it's affecting the whole image. It might be. So I might be wrong on that. I thought it only affected the bottom one, but in any case, you can see by just changing that, it changes the look of the whole thing. How many of you are going to download this app today? How many of you already have? How many of you are following along? Yeehaw, right? All from a still image. I'm going to leave that one there with that filter. There's still a couple more here that I really want to show you. Blur and sharpen, I haven't used, but you can see what it does. I just blurred again. It just blurred that definitely just blurred that layer. You can see everything on top of it is sharp. So you've got to use that, knowing that how that works. Sharpen would be the same way. Time increases the speed. However, honestly, I have not figured. I want certain things to go slower, and their slowest speed is still too fast. So I'm hoping they'll tweak that. So again, I don't use that, but these next two I use almost every single time. First one is motion, and motion is what I was talking about before, where you apply motion to it and it adds just a little bit of like camera movement, a little camera shake, all right, depending on how much you put in there and their frequency. See how the whole thing is shaking? So the nice thing about that, obviously, is it just gives it another sort of subconscious sort of this is like more like a video, like somebody's holding a video camera, right? So I add that at least subtly to every single one I do. And the other one I like, just for I go through phases of this type of thing, like, oh, I think that's a neat effect, I'm using it on everything, and then I go back, you know, in a year and go, oh, I sure overused that. And I think that's probably what I'm doing with Vignette. I don't do anything dark like that. I just a little, just to kind of, it just gives the whole thing just a little more depth, because it's like a drop shadow around it, right? And then you've got the radius, just tweaking various aspects of how wide the vignette is and all that. Okay, are we cool? Now, you see these little dice here? Now, this is going to mess with just about everything I did on certain levels, but if I just do the dice, it randomizes filters on various layers and things and creates, now see, in this case, I probably shouldn't have done that until, oh, I think I can undo. So I'm going to click undo a few. No, that's not undo. Well, I want it because I wanted to show you the export, and I don't want it to be one I don't like. So I'd love to be able to get back to what I had. So I'm going to hope that it randomizes something that's kind of cool. But it doesn't seem to want to. All of this seems really super dark. Reset general tools, reset general tools. I reset all layer tools. All right, I don't know what's going on there. Let me just show you how to export. But what I wanted to do was send this up to Instagram, and then I freaking ruined it. But whatever. In the upper right-hand corner, there's the little square with the arrow. And that's where that's your share. And the first thing it does is it renders it. And then what I always do is I save to photos and then save first as an animated GIF. And then what I'll either do is I'll save to photos and go and then say save to video or save video, and it'll create like a 2 or 3 second, whatever, it's a loop video. Or I'll say go to Instagram, and it'll get it all ready for Instagram, right? So it's there on Instagram, and then I can I could post this, but why? But it's not going to get the traction I want. It's goofy. But anyway, and so I do all that from there, and then I actually, as I go through, I also share on Facebook, and I share to Twitter, and I do some sort of fun little caption. And here's a little tip: if you want your stuff to be seen, put the hashtag Werble app in there. And then when people are searching for other people who've done use this app, they'll see you. And sometimes the Werble app people will come and feature your Werble. How do I know this? Personal experience. All right. That's it. Anybody have any questions? Well, no, they weren't right when they said too many layers can be wonky. I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have randomized it. Thank you, Esther. I'm glad you liked it. And Loretta. And wasn't that wow? See, I told you. Look, guys, I'm not going to steer you wrong. And look, I took a full half hour on one app. Well, I'm sure I did a little hemming and hawing up front. Okay. That's going to do it for me for now. You know what to do. Explore, play, create. Don't be afraid to just try stuff even if you don't understand what it does. And then when you start posting them, let me know so I can see, because I really want to see. I do care. Even though you might think I don't, but I do.